A Podcast Has No Name, with your hosts, Doug Harrelson and Luke Aldridge.
Hey guys, and welcome back to A Podcast Has No Name. I'm Doug Harrelson, and I am not joined by Luke Aldridge. He is still going to be away for the next few weeks. Luke, we're looking forward to having you back, buddy. But I am excited to be back with Shaee, the fill-in Frank. Shaee the fill-in flat. Sorry about that.
All good.
So we got another episode of House of the Dragon Season 3. This one isn't quite what we had in the first two episodes, to say the very least.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not as action-packed, but definitely got I would say some classic Game of Thrones like drama and dialogue in it that I think was good. So definitely different pace, but still an overall eventful episode.
For sure. We maybe spend a little too long on our intros on a lot of these episodes, and that's my fault because I like to ramble. So I kind of want to just dig into it, and instead of going into like specific scenes and whatnot, I actually wanted to just take a few minutes here and kind of discuss sort of, like the tone, the direction, and everything of the episode. The writer of this episode, Sarah Hess, gets a lot of grief. Writing is not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this, though I actually did not hate the writing of this episode. I thought the dialogue was fine. There's some changes, but it is what it is at this point. We just kind of have to live with it. But just the way the angles that things were shot at, the lighting, the cinematography, which has always been spot on for these series. And then this is a very different style of music from Ramin Djawadi this season. But I thought this episode in particular, it created just a general sense of unease. What did you think about the sort of tone to this episode?
Loved the tone of the episode. I loved the breadcrumbs that they left throughout with the rats and then I loved the decision to focus solely from Rhaenyra's POV in this episode as well because I think it's so important that we
That's a
kind of
departure for
got
sure.
maybe a day in the life on the first day of the job maybe of Rhaenyra. And I thought that was a really good decision to go that route rather than bounce back and forth. Because as we know in Westeros and in these shows, there's so many things going on in so many different parts of the continent, and most of the time they have to bounce a lot. But I thought the decision to stay with Rhaenyra this episode was really important and a great move by them.
Yeah, 100%. With the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, that's what we had, was just a first-person POV show with occasionally
Hmm.
some egg scenes, but for the most part, it
Hmm.
was straight from Dunk's livelihood. I mean, as is the book and whatnot. Game of Thrones was famous for bouncing all over the place despite being a POV book, which is kind of funny, but it's so
Right.
many POVs.
Yeah. True.
It was nice to
True.
just follow
Yeah.
one character through the episode, though. And yes, technically there are other scenes. Obviously, the very opening scene, which we'll get to more later on, but just kind of it's her dealing with okay, this is what you wanted. Here's your crown. Here's your throne. All right, do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But uh, we can talk more about all that. We'll probably mention a lot of this throughout each of the different topics and whatnot. As we've done in the past, we're going to kind of hit things on kind of where their arcs are. And one of the early arcs that we kind of get is the I have deemed it the first time the Black Council scenes have been even remotely interesting. So I'm really, really happy about that. Granted, it's not even the full council, and that's actually one of the problems they have, is they just have an unfilled council. But immediately, Corlys is telling them, "Hey, bro, we got no funds." They're interrogating Orwyle again. This man has 3 episodes, 3 sets of harsh interrogations.
Yeah. Yeah. He has.
He's putting in
It's
his 2 week
almost like
notice.
it's almost like a running joke at this point. Like, how many times can he come really close to
To
a
losing his
bad
head.
end and get away with it?
I mean, I did hear a conspiracy that he is involved with the Laris and Aegon escape because he's in the I think it was Lightbringer who said it. It was he's because he's in a truck with or a cart with the Ravens, and who controls the Ravens? The Maesters. I'm like, that's interesting.
That's Yeah, that is. I didn't think about
And
that.
then there's a lot of people that like, I forget which book it's in. Is it A Dance with Dragon or A Feast with Crows or Feast with Crows, where it's like the Maesters will end the dragons like we did the first time. The Maester conspiracy. Are you familiar with that one?
Mm, no, I didn't.
That because I mean they would also be the ones that could
I
rewrite
never read into
history.
that.
They're the ones that could rewrite history and say that they had more to do with it. It's a fun conspiracy, way too deep for the nature of this discussion. But I'll link you to something Shaee. I think you'll really enjoy it a
Yeah,
lot.
I'd love to read about it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So I we actually missed my notable performance, and I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say Ramin Djawadi with a very unique musical score compared to anything else I've heard in a Game of Thrones television show or anything.
Okay.
That like none of the epic move like you just hear like this loud like whistling at points. Um, in a later scene, the crown is put on her head, and as soon as it puts on her head, you just hear like this ringing start, like this, almost like a
Mhm.
teapot, like, and just like these constant like little details, just really adding to like the thing. But I say this because this is my notable moment because I didn't expect to see this moment, but when you see Damon find out about the death of Simon Strong, he's you see him a little bit like upset. Like it's like a mixture of like anger and like sadness. Like I think he really did eventually come to like, especially because I mean, and what was it, the second episode right after they finished the fish feed song? Like they were thick as thieves there for a second.
Yeah, I actually had the same exact reaction when I watched it. I was like, wow, Damon kind of showed a little, sadness there for the Strong family, and then also, he immediately asks about Alice as well, and it's like, wow, you can tell he kind of grew to care about them a little bit, and then, of course they,
Oh, I think he's suspicious of
quickly
Alice
like,
having something to do with Aemon. That's what I think that was. I think he feels like sadness over Simon Strong, but he's like, what is Alice doing? Like
yeah, it could be. I kind of thought maybe
that
he
could go either way.
was also a little concerned for her well-being. Like, I don't know. Maybe it could
That
be a little bit of
yeah,
both.
like I mean, we're yet to have enough evidence to conclude one way or another. I think is a fair way to put it because I think either are very likely outcomes. Both is maybe a hard outcome, but I don't think either of them. But yeah, this tone from these black council or this like black council, the two black council scenes we get in this episode are both like kind of like the tenor of the whole show of just like we have no money, we have all these problems we need to fix, but you need money to fix problems, and like what are we gonna do? Like we gotta figure out something. Like I mean, like eventually Rhaenyra comes up with the plan of sending Daemon to the Vale and stuff, but yeah, it's tough. Like no Kingsguard, and Aegon's still missing, and they're trying to, and nobody in the council knows where he has gotten off to, nor Lord Larys.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then
Did
of
you enjoy
course,
the Black
she's
Council
got
scenes, or am I alone on this island?
no, no.
They're way better than they have been. Because, like I've said, the Green Council scenes are awesome, and the Black Council scenes are just put me to sleep.
Yeah, no. The Green Council scenes were always better because I think like
The
I've
characters were
heard you talk
interesting.
about in the past episodes, in some of the past episodes of the podcast, I've heard you talk about how you felt like they were just kind of repeating like their disagreement with Rhaenyra. You kind of just over and over get the feeling that these people that were on her council were just supporting her because they gave their word to Viserys, but not because they actually believed that Rhaenyra could be a leader. And that they felt like, you know, they were kind of undermining her as a woman and a lot of times, and you just kind of got that feeling over and over and over and over with their council meetings. But in this one, I think one of the reasons it's probably a little bit more interesting is they cut a lot of those people out, and it's just the people that actually do mess with Rhaenyra.
Oh, you're saying like her true allies. I actually, so I have another reason I think it's the thing I think was interesting with the Green Council was like they were all flawed human beings, and they're something me and you have been begging for. They're letting Rhaenyra be a little flawed this episode. That I thought was a big positive for this episode. Like it, and it felt natural. It felt like she's a little snippy and a little like angry because she's just went through a lot, and now everything is like kind of like BS right now to deal with, and it's like stressing her the hell out. Like it feels like organic. It feels real. Like it's making Rhaenyra the most interesting she's been. And I'm not saying anything against the acting. The acting has been good, but this is the most interesting I found her as a character from like a top down perspective.
I don't disagree with that. I think that they still cut a few corners with her, and I think they're avoiding some things that probably would put her in even more of a gray situation. But
Right.
maybe
Well, they
I
can't
think
go
we'll
too
touch on
fast
some of
with it.
those. But
I don't think they can go too fast with that right now because of how far away from that they had her. If they go that fast, then it'll start to feel like Daenerys again. I think this is a pace that makes sense, given what we have in the show already. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. I just, like for instance, like I didn't really enjoy the like it's almost like Allison and Helena are welcome guests, but like that would have been something that it's like, oh, wow, she's really gonna lock Allison up in prison and in a cell and everything. Like that was something I was actually looking forward to was seeing Allison and Helena locked up, and seeing how people reacted to their imprisonment. But this
Yeah.
is to me, at least in the episode, they didn't feel like prisoners really at all to me.
Well, so like I think you actually like dovetail us right into like a few smaller scenes that all hit on a lot of different a lot of the same notes, just the difficulties of ruling, the crown being a burden, themes that we're kind of used to, but it's okay. Themes are allowed to be consistent. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms has a lot of the same themes through all the episodes, and we adored the show. So you can have consistent but yeah, like I did actually kind of envision them being like treated as what like pampered prisoners. Like they are prisoners
Hmm.
nonetheless. But you know, I did also like Allison being like, "I'm sorry that I don't know everything Larry Strong is doing, but like you can't hold that against me." Like,
Yeah, yeah, no, there was definitely some good dialogue in there in those scenes. I just personally for me, I understand why they're doing it, but personally for me, I don't like the forced friendship of Rhaenyra and Alicent that they have created. That's not that's not a change that I enjoy, and I thought that we were past it, but we're clearly just gonna have that forever, I think,
I'm,
at this
I'm
point.
I'm not sure I would call them friends. I would say that they're making the best of their current situation. Um, a couple other like little like smaller scenes I kind of noticed was uh obviously when she's talking to Masaria and then she sees like Jace for a second. I do like that they're like making her like lose it a
Hmm.
little bit. Like that again hits on the tone I was just
Yep.
saying before, and I mentioned this before with the music. Right before she's about to do the
I think
petitions, Alinda is putting the crown, and you hear the ringing get like really loud
mhm.
right then, which I didn't notice it till the second watch through. But like they a lot of subtle cues, and just you hear a constant ringing through a lot of it. It was like making me uneasy because I was watching it like I've been doing watch parties for all of these. I actually watched this one at home by myself, volume blaring, and it was like literally making me uncomfortable in my chair. Like I was, and I think that that's good. I think that that's the emotion that you should feel given the position of our main protagonist.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the music is a little bit of a hint at that, and also, the rats as well, I think are, kind of a foreshadowing of her. I think I think the rats are foreshadowing some of Rhaenyra's reign a little bit, as if you can read into that. And they've kind of done
And
that
it's
throughout the
Aegon that
show,
killed
even
the
going
rat
back to season one.
catchers. It's his fault.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So, you know, but I think I enjoyed that part of the episode as well.
All right. Uh, I think like maybe like one of our like favorite just sort of like scenes just from like a pullback perspective. And actually this is my notable scene is the because I've already hit my moment and I've already hit my performance. The notable scene, I'm gonna take the cop out, the easy one, which is the Corlys and Rhaenyra scene. But there's a little setup to it, obviously, like them having dinner, him, just saying, "Hey, it's a simple request. Like I'm not asking much of you here." Um, to follow that up then with that awkward moment when she's like, "Adam of Hull," with the pause, like, and do you want
Yeah,
to
no,
tell
I
them what
mean that.
happens when Corlys and Rhaenyra discuss this after the fact?
Yeah, I guess. It's
I put
hard
you on the spot there.
for me to separate the two because when I was watching it, I just couldn't get past the. I'm trying to process why they're going a different route and also watch what's happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I thought, but my performance of the episode was Stephen Toussaint Corliss in
Yeah.
this scene actually. He was good throughout the episode, but even at dinner he was really good. But I think in that scene particularly with Rhaenyra when he's kind of talking about, hey, you had him knighted and uh, you mentioned Adam as Adam of Whole, and we talked about this, and I'm sure it was an oversight, and you got a lot going on, but just putting it back in your ear, and she's like, actually, I can't do that right now, and
Oh.
it's like he at first is a little upset, and then he gets gradually more upset, and then of course it boils over at the end, with him calling all of her sons bastards, but. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an emotional scene. I think that you can
He's
see
such a
both
good
sides of
actor.
it a little bit. Yeah, he's really good. I think you can
Like,
see both sides of it a little bit. I lean more towards Corliss's side of the
I
argument,
agree.
though,
Especially because
more than Rhaenyra's.
when you consider how much how much he's done for her, even though like you can go all the way back to the early episodes. There's the moment whenever um when right after Aemon gets his eye taken out, when they're like where Aegon says when Viserys is asking Aegon who told him such things, seems like he was like, "We all know, Dad. Just look at him." And then it just cuts to Corlys, and he's like uneasily squirms about and like looks at the ground. But he has held faith the whole time and has been her most staunch supporter. Lost his wife in this war. Lost
Hmm.
his heir, and then his next heir. Well, it wouldn't have been his next heir, but his next heir then became heir to the Iron Throne. So, like,
Yeah,
and I
I
don't think,
I wonder.
yeah,
Sorry.
like,
I wonder what you think about was he in the show? We're gonna separate the book and the show, but in the show, I wonder if they're going the path of he was only supportive of that because it was a way for his line to continue. If you remember, like back in season one, when he was talking to Rhaenys, he said,
history doesn't,
history
yeah,
doesn't remember blood, it
blood.
remembers names. And it's like, okay, now um, that my grandsons are gone and they're not going to continue my name. I have to come up with another way to continue my name, and this is it. And now it's like the whole facade is broken down because he's worried that at this point it seems like Corliss's main concern is the continuation of his legacy. And I think that's probably why he boils over on Rhaenyra and is kind of doesn't even really care if there are repercussions of what he says because at this point it's like, hey, if my legacy is not going to be continued, I'm gonna
Well, I
let
mean,
it all hang.
especially now with the sacking of High Tide too. Like, at least that could have been his
Yeah.
legacy. But like, yeah, you used
Yep.
the exact word because that I will say they have been true to his character from end to end, and I think it matches who he is in the books as somebody that cares about. Like, I mean, it doesn't explicitly say that in the book, but he's a proud explorer, of sailor, done all these voyages and stuff. it's not a stretch for him to be a prideful man. Like, not at all. Like, it
No.
feels like it tracks perfect. Like, and I know there are people unhappy that physically the Valarians of the book and the show do not match. I've made my peace with it because it means I get Steve Toussaint playing as Corlys Valarian, and that's worth a few sacrifices because he's been fantastic. Like, he captures the essence of what I would want in Lord Corlys Valarian. He was on my short
Actually,
list for performance
it's
as
what
well.
it's some. I would say this is something I've changed my mind on. I didn't love it at first, but I grew to really like the decision. The only thing that I would change about it, if it were me, was, and maybe this wouldn't make logical real life sense, but it's not real, so who cares? I would have made Bela and Rhaena not match him as much. I would have like made them look more traditional
Because at that
Targaryen
point,
when
they're
they were
two
born.
generations down. Because
Yeah, yeah. I that's what I would have done
Lena
that.
should be like
I think
half,
it
and then
causes
like it's a
some
quarter.
confusion.
Yeah.
We touched on it like last episode. You talked
Yeah.
about it a little bit. It creates a little bit of confusion on who they are and why they, to not to us but to the common viewer, of like, why can these girls ride dragons again?
Yeah. I mean,
And but we know, but
I've had
for
to
instance,
explain
my
it to
wife,
coworkers. Yeah.
yeah, so
Even going back to Lanor in season 1, I've had to explain it to coworkers. Like, his mom is Rhaenys.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, and I could even argue that like wouldn't have minded if they made Laenor not match him as much, just for the same reason. But I do think that it separates, because in the show they or I'm sorry, in the book they probably are a little too Targaryen-y to put them exactly like that on the screen, because it would have been too similar. There are differences, but they obviously went to a drastic difference to make sure people didn't get confused.
yeah. I could keep talking about Corlys and Steve Toussaint and the Velaryon family and for a while, but there are more stuff we want to get to. This was like made into a big scene, but it's not something from they're calling it the Rat Feast, which like there's sort of political sort of like gain of like getting the small folk on your side. A lot of the people, the other content creators that I follow, seem to have liked this scene more than I did. The one thing I did like was right when they placed the plates down, you see a little smirk from Emma Darcy that's just like so perfect, where it's just like it's a genuine, like, she's trying not to, or they are trying not, Rhaenyra is trying not to get like fully break character, but still just has like the little flinch of the lip, and like, yeah, I just did that. Like, I just thought that's such a subtle little acting thing that like. So my performance of the week was either going to be uh, Steve Toussaint, Emma D'Arcy, or Robin Djwadi, but I was like, you know what? Djwadi has been in every Game of Thrones production since the beginning, and this is the first time he's shown me something like that sounded like this. And he's done like nothing but amazing scores. Like,
I,
but
I think that was a really cool choice by you. Honestly, I was kind of jealous of your choice when you said that.
but if it wasn't him, it had to be one of those two. No offense to
I
anyone
think
else,
Matt
but like,
Smith was good too.
yeah, but like the episode was so hyper fixated on Emma that obviously they had a
Yeah,
great
yeah, yeah.
shot. And Steve, he didn't have a lot of scenes, but his scenes were really high gravity. Matt Smith's scenes, we've had better Damon moments this season.
Hmm.
Like, it just wasn't big Damon moments. They have given us some Damon. We're not tripping balls at Harrenhal anymore. It's better.
It is better.
But
Yeah. No, no, I agree. I thought the as far as the scene itself, I actually did enjoy the scene a lot. I thought it was really cool. The only thing I'm going to say is I hope this arc plot line is not completely replacing, like, I hope she's not going to only focus on the rich, because that would, I think,
yeah,
be a
so like
mistake.
I kind of have a theory that maybe we can touch on more in the like spoiler section about what they're gonna do here. But for me, all I'm thinking though, from like, because this scene didn't happen in the books, all I'm thinking is, well, if your issue is gold and these people have gold, that might not be the first people I try to piss off. Like, I get you do want to take care of your small folk, but these are the same small folk that you were shipping food to on the down low. So, like, you've already bought a little bit of good graces. Like, maybe actually try to appeal to these nobles by properly giving them a dinner. I know it would look bad to the small folk then, but, you know, well, I guess maybe don't feast them. That's expensive. But, I mean, hell, tax them. Like, I don't know. Or, like, try to figure out what you can do for them. Try to figure out, like, this, to give them this sort of, like, first off, the insult of the rat, but then also, like, rob them. And I'm not saying that she's morally in the wrong. I'm saying strategically in the wrong. Like, I have no problem with it from a moral perspective. Like, screw it. Like, yeah, they were hoarding, they were being jerks, they were leaving the poor to die. Morally, no objections. Strategically, I have exceptions.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be where maybe the Council of the White Worm, she's going to have to find a middle ground of not always doing what's best for just the small folk.
Actually, I was thinking about it when we were talking about the council earlier. I think the Massaria and Daemon having a history, but also being so different in the advice that they give Rhaenyra, actually makes the council so much more interesting because there's like so much push and pull at her. Like, because like Daemon is impulsive, but doesn't give a damn about the small. Mysaria is a little naive to what the High Lords and policies or what matters to like running a government.
Couldn't be.
But
it couldn't really be farther.
She's got her,
apart.
feet in the grass, so to speak. You know, she's like knows what's going on with the small folk. Like, but that makes for good tension.
Yeah, they couldn't really. It was such a funny line. What did he say whenever he said something along the lines of, "Oh, it's such an annoying thing to always have to worry about."
Oh no, it was
the feeding the small folk.
It's like such an annoying necessity they have to have food. Like, I mean, could you be more out of touch? I mean, we don't like Daemon because he's a good person. If you like Daemon because you think he's a good person, like, he shows moments where he does the right thing. But do not confuse that with Daemon being a good person.
No, that's not the reason to like Daemon.
And he still thinks of the Targaryens as gods, as he proved in another discussion. I don't even think I have that in our show notes. But I also just wanted to touch on Torrhen Manderly talking that ish. Like, and he's the little like snide comment he says about, they might even forget that it was you that caused the blockade. Like,
yeah,
it gives me the Laris talking about the tea vibes with
yeah, and you could tell
Allison.
she was just really in that moment. She's like, am I gonna snap back at that or just kind of let that roll off my shoulder a little bit?
But she did say I have a long memory.
Yeah.
No,
I thought that. I thought that was. I actually liked that line. That line was good.
Yeah, like
I forgot about that one.
The fan base loves to give Sarah Hess a lot of grief, and I have been frustrated by some of the decisions that she has made along the way. I do think that the dialogue was well written in this episode, even if I don't agree with all the creative decisions made in those writings. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, I actually think I agree completely. There's a lot I don't like about the episode as far as the changes, like the direction and changes. But as far as like her job, like, hey, this is where we're going. You write, go ahead and write it out. I thought it was really good. For the most part.
Right. And this final one, the final sort of thing with the like sort of high tower plan from Ormond. It's funny because it's the very first scene, but the full fruits of its labor don't manifest till the very last scene, so it kind of bookends the show for us. Also, I don't know, have we ever had like, maybe I might be misremembering, but I feel like Game of Thrones would always do like, Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon would always do like the previously on, play the intro, and then start the episode. This one did the previously
This is one of the very few cold openings.
Yeah, I was like,
I think there have been a few cold openings, but this is one of the very few
yeah. Because I
that
was like, oh, no
they've
intro
ever
music,
done.
and then after that first scene, there was intro music. But I digress. Um, I do like the guy playing Orman Hightower. He is giving me the "I
Yes.
can't trust you" vibes. He's no Peter Baelish, but like he's headed that direction a little bit, and it's and then him like it's very dishonorable for a knight to bend the knee and say I get fealty, and then just be like JK, like because I at this point, if you try to do it, that's not going to happen. Like Dracarys,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. No, I thought this scene actually had my moment of the episode. It's not a huge moment or anything. But I loved the cinematic shot of Daemon aura farming with the three dragons behind him.
okay, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, just kind of there's a whole army,
yeah,
which we know it's the it's the biggest host in the whole battle, the whole dance that Ormond leads, and you see the size and quantity of this army, and then there's just Daemon.
yeah.
It's just like so I like that moment, but as far as I completely agree. I think they nailed Ormond and this scene was really good. As far as the whole plot and the whole trick and everything, um, I thought the idea was good and cool and clever and it adds for good TV. I thought they could have executed it better.
So the only things that really upset me, like I do think that it was a cool way to reveal it. Allison being like, "That's not my son, dog." Like, I thought that was a cool way to reveal that, like towards the end of the episode. But there's two like issues that bother me. Number one, they already moved all the way to Tumbleton, and for us book readers, that is it 3 or 4 like major events that happen along the Rose Road that are. I mean, maybe they could at
I
this
hate
point. Like,
that.
I just assume they're gone because in my prediction video, I won't spoil something, but like events at Tumbleton are kind of where I thought the season would end, and maybe it still will. They're just going to drag us there, but I thought the battles along the Rose Road, which I mean, maybe that means we're just going to get more love from the Riverlands, is my best assumption. We'll discuss more of that post spoilers, but I'm like when I heard them say that, I like literally like pulled my head back. I was like, oh, okay, so we're and also I'm just
I don't. It
pacing is
seems
a
at this point
pace
that we are never really. We might never have a land battle on this show.
right,
Like
but yeah,
they
just
just they skip. They've skipped a lot of battles.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so I didn't like that, and I also didn't like.
we're 3 episodes in, and I can name 3 battles
I
that we've skipped.
yeah, and I don't think that Damon's fallen for this, and I definitely don't think that Damon is leaving there without because like as even if you say like Darren is a threat, the bigger threat is
So sorry, yeah.
that Darren's not a threat. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that Darren's leaving the dragon alive, or at the very least captured in some way. And so like I don't know.
Does he
It
does he
to
does
me
he
it
get the
belittles.
sober? Does he get the sobriquet Darren the Brave for or the Derek? What is it? What was his nickname in the books? He gets like a nickname because he comes to the rescue
Get
in them.
on the daring, right? I
Yeah,
think
and it comes after he like helps them out in a battle that would have happened a long way back on the Rose Road. And this is actually going to bring me to a
would have
separate
already
point that could
happened.
both hit. Pacing is something that I know I talk about too much on this show, and I don't care. You guys are just going to have to suck it up. But the fast traveling Hightower army that just flew down the Rose Road all the way to Tumbleton is because Tumbleton is right next to King's Landing. And I just feel
Yeah.
like I don't mind the dragons fast traveling. That tracks. Totally have no problem with that. An army, like a single rider on a horse, will move a lot faster than an army for like obvious
Hmm.
logistical reasons. The fact that the army can just teleport in a couple of days That messes with me. I don't like fast traveling armies or the Iron Fleet in season 8. That's over here. Then they're on the other side of the continent. Then they're over here. They're just all over the entire everybody in the water. It's the Iron Fleet, and Danny kind of forgot about it. Remember? But
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's of course it's terrible at the end of Game of Thrones, but
I don't think this is
I
that bad.
definitely
But it
would.
gives me the same sort
It's
of
not bad yet, but I don't want to get to that bad.
yeah, like the Dothraki going all the way from the north after they were all slain, all the way to King's Landing in the blink of an eye. And yes, you could just say, "Oh, this is a couple of weeks later," but the way you shot it doesn't feel like that. And the way you've shot King's Landing, it definitely feels like this is all in a few days. So, I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't even mind Daemon flying back immediately, because Daemon has been all over the map in a very short order.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, again with the
I'll give you a
dragons,
pass.
you can forgive it a little bit.
But then there's the other element of pacing, and this goes back to what we've said a couple of times about how the first 2 episodes of this season were the last 2 episodes of the last season, if we're honest with ourselves. Because this felt like a episode 1.
It did.
Like all the carnage from last season, because it sets a tone for a new season.
I think this is where I think and I probably have more issues with House of the Dragon, I think, in the bit that I've talked to you than you do. Whether it be changes or you know, the directing or the writing or whatever it may be, but no matter what, I will always stick to the point that the biggest reason to me that if House of the Dragon is not as successful as it should be is not anything to do with any of the actors or actresses or any of the directors or even the writers, but HBO, because these would have been the 9 and 10 would have been 1 and 2 if HBO would give them the budget. And there's really no reason for HBO to not give them as much budget as they need, because this is a show that is going to make money if you do it right.
Yeah. And the thing is,
I think that it whether you want to complain about the directing or the writing or whatever it may be, if they're working with one arm tied behind their back because of budget, it can only be so good.
Yeah.
And like we talk about like them skipping battles, those battles are expensive to make.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably plenty of people working on this show that would love to show those battles.
Yeah.
But they're like, hey, this is the budget we have. Do you want the Battle of the Gullet or do you want the Battle at the Red Fork? If you want the Battle of the Gullet to be right, we're going to have to cut out the Battle of the Red Fork and some of these others. And I think that we're seeing that play out.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I'm going to want to move to the spoiler section here soon, but yeah, just dang, you hit everything there really, really well. And I just feel like if this show is successful, though, it could make you back your losses. And if you're a network that's kind of struggling, it could be a thing that could really hang your hat on. And I don't want it to. It is kind of one of the number 1 complaints about season 8 is how rushed everything is. And
so, if you think back to when Game of Thrones was at its peak, I don't know if you're a Twitter person, but Game of Thrones.
I was not at that time. I am now, but not then.
Game of Thrones did something that I've never seen television do, and it took over the country at a time.
Even when I
there
wasn't
was
on
a time of there was a time when on Sunday night you could get on Twitter and you would see a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds tweeting or posting about Game of Thrones. It was like, 8 o'clock on Sunday night, we're doing this. Have a basketball reporter, and then you'd have an NFL player, and then you'd have, this celebrity singer, or all tweeting about the same show. And I think they had a chance to. Those same people could have bought into House of the Dragon, but I think that that HBO really never gave the show a chance to captivate the audience in the same way. So I don't know. I think that it's really unfortunate because I think the story is good enough to where they could have kind of got back to that place.
100%. There, I'm gonna hit 2 quick points, and then we are gonna hit a spoiler warning. You guys who have been with us, please hit us with a like. Please hit us with a subscribe. 5 stars if you're on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, anywhere you find the podcast. We appreciate all the love. HBO, please don't pull my video down again. I'm only using these clips for a moment. It got put back up, but we missed a couple of days there on YouTube. I don't know if y'all saw that, but my coworker presented a really interesting point though, and I didn't even think about this. He was like, imagine if they literally did just end season 2 with the shot of Otto Hightower's head on the floor, and then the standoff between Rhaenyra and Alicent, and then you just cue the music and see you in 2 years. We would have been jacked for this season.
They should have.
And then I thought this would have been a good opening episode, but now it just feels like so much has happened this season, and now we're just doing this kind of this would have felt like a better setup episode versus it doesn't feel like a good transition episode. It feels out of place almost. It doesn't belong here. Not that there's anything wrong with the episode in and of itself, it's just its placement.
No, I agree. I mean, this everything about it shows that it should be that it was initially planned to be exactly that way.
Yeah. Oh, and then the one last point I want to make, and I can do this pre-spoilers, but I can also do this one post-spoilers, is the Dragon Keeper. So the Dragon Keepers have been with Tessarion, so they're with the Greens, but then he narrowly escaped. So is he like a defector, or did just they went to Tumbleton and now he's like, you know what, I'm out? His allegiance doesn't make sense to me, actually. Do you see the logical flaw here?
No, I thought the same thing. I was.
It's like I'm confused.
I didn't really. Yeah, no, I've had all the same thoughts. I
okay,
didn't
so
know.
we're in agreement on that. Leave us a comment if you have the same thoughts. Otherwise, if you don't want spoilers, I would ask you to close your player immediately, because this is our official spoiler warning. We got several in here to talk about, so we may try to move a little quickly with these. The first one, actually, Shaee brought this to my attention. I remember hearing it, but I didn't think about it when I was writing the notes, was the line about Baela seeing Sunfire on the ground dead. I've heard your piece a bit, but let the people at home kind of hear your end of it, and then I do have a rebuttal, actually, though.
I mean, my only thought to how this would make sense, I think, completely undermines Baela's character, and that would be them eventually being like, oh yeah, that was Meleys that was dead. Because there's as many changes as there is no way that Sunfire can be dead in the show. And if Sunfire is dead in the show,
tragic change. That would ruin the entire story.
Because we know. I don't know. Can we say it?
This is post-spoilers. Yeah.
You know, obviously Sunfire.
Well, in the show universe, Joffrey even says that this happens. So, if Joffrey said it, it has to be true.
Yeah, Sunfire, is responsible for the death of Rhaenyra eventually. So, obviously, Sunfire cannot be dead.
So, I do have a simple rebuttal: is that Sunfire is weak and grounded, and from the sky, you might not be able to tell a wounded and lame dragon from a dead one if it's not agitated. I mean, Sunfire could still be unconscious, and just clinging to life. But yes, I do think that they're
sleeping.
And in fact, I guess that they're intentionally, I think, leaving these breadcrumbs that Sunfire is dead over and over, because they've said it now. Aegon said it 3 times. Alicent said it a couple of times. Now Rhaenyra is saying it. I don't think that they're saying it this frequently on accident, because if he was actually dead, they would have stopped saying it by now.
Yeah, I didn't mind it so much and think anything of it when Aegon was talking about it, just because he is assuming that Sunfire is dead. It's not like he's seen Sunfire, but then they're like, oh no, we actually flew over and confirmed Sunfire's dead. I'm like, wait,
but
what?
I think you could argue that from a height that I think that. But
I think you probably are on to something there with maybe she just kind of didn't get close enough and mistook it.
Okay, maybe this is fewer spoiler notes because I can combine the next three all kind of together because they really do uh, kind of play together. I kind of mentioned it before, but I guess we're just skipping all the battles on the Rose Roll, the Honey Wine, the Tragedy of Bitter Bridge. I mean, I think at this point, this is officially, and I keep saying it over and over again, this is officially the end of Maelor. He's not coming.
No, he's not coming.
I mean, if they squeeze it now,
I
like
told
it's
you,
just
to me it feels like
because they're already
what is
tumbled.
happening
They've
right
already
now.
passed like all of like the Tragedy of Bitter Bridge, which was like a really. It was an interesting narrative. I guess the story doesn't have to have it to get the final pieces where they need to be, but like you cut enough interesting pieces. Something about butterflies or something.
Yeah, to me it feels like the show is gotten to a point where they're like, if they're planning out season 3 and 4, they're saying, okay, we have to do the Battle of the Gullet, we have to do Rhaenyra uh taking, the throne, we have to do, you know,
The
her kind of
shepherd,
being
the dragon's
unpopular a little
head.
bit. They we have to do, Damon or Aemond, I'm sorry, at Harrenhal, and then eventually we'll have to do, the Battle of the God's Eye. And how we get to all these points, we'll just figure it out.
There are people in the community that believe that they might be changing Aemon and Damon's final battle, and again, that's one that's just like would be a cardinal sin. If you change like the end
If they do
of either
if
of those
the
characters or Rhaenyra's fate or Sunfire's fate or whatever, yeah, these are unforgivable sins. Like
the whole
I will
show's dead to
tarnish.
me if that happens.
Yeah, like I'll watch the show because I do this now, and so like I'm contractually obligated to, but there'll be no joy in it. It'll be work.
Well, like, yeah, there's no coming back from those big of changes in my opinion. But I don't think that they're gonna do that. The only thing I think they could possibly change with that is if they have the um the green men on the Isle of Faces pull Damon out of the water.
Sure. Okay. That I would let pass. I would let that pass.
Because
What
they
was it
do
we were
talk about in the
talking?
book that Damon's body was never found.
What was it we were talking about earlier in the show? That I said that I wanted to talk more about, but I didn't want to do it pre-spoilers.
The Iron Throne gonna cut her you put in there.
I did put that in there, but I thought there was something we discussed.
Okay.
But I can't remember what it is, so I'm going to be doing the show, or I'm going to be doing the editing and be very sad I missed a point, but we're already a little over, so it's fine. But this also means that Rickard Thorne is going to die somehow, but like, I just, his death is actually like one of the few like really like green deaths that I find heroic because he is trying his hardest to save this young boy's life. And we're not going to get
Right,
that
yeah.
scene. You just alluded to it. But like, is the Iron Throne actually going to cut her? Because that's like kind of like canonical. Like, I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be, but like,
To me,
kinda
it's another way of them like softening Rhaenyra's character a little bit. It's
and then
like we
making her
don't,
good with the
she's the
small
good
folk when
guy.
when the small folk actually end up hating her as part of like her entire arc. So like,
I'm
and so
worried
if
that
they
they're
want to
not
make it
going to
like
do
seem
the
like,
small folk. I'm worried
yeah,
because obviously in the book she taxes. She's like, she's pretty cruel. She says, you guys gave taxes to the wrong ruler, so now you owe double to because you owe what you paid to make up for paying Aegon, and then you owe your normal taxes to me on top. And the small folk end up turning on her, and that's big. And then of course it's talked about for a long time. The throne cutting her and rejecting her. I kind of seems to me like they might eventually do that and just say that it was her period. I don't.
yeah, and like that, I just think would be because like there are some people that had like an issue with her saying or like having that sort of thing hit like right then, being like, oh, it was kind of a forced like woman's thing, and I was like, actually no, for me the way I saw it was, imagine you're having your worst week at work and just like, okay, sure, one more thing goes wrong, and I thought it fit there, but the only reason I didn't like it was I was like, are they gonna make that how she bleeds on the Iron Throne? Because that is a cop out. I think that
That's
like,
pretty stupid.
and also like I don't think that the throne cutting her makes her unworthy because I think that all these sigils and signs, importance and stuff, I think we've started to see that like they're not all that like important, and like Sir Duncan not being knighted doesn't mean that he's not a knight or that he's not worthy. You know, like worthiness is not something that's measured by like the stars or society and stuff. It's measured by character and stuff. You could have her be high character and then still like, you know, be forced to make these tough decisions because, and maybe that's what Alicent's leading her towards is like, you know, you're going to have to make decisions you're not going to like. You know, it's still early in the season. So it could just, but like, and we've already seen her character start to shift. So I'm optimistic that they can turn it around, but like, I if she ends up champion of the small folks and then the blood is just like Otto Hightower's blood and her period blood, then I just think that that's just like untrue to like the like. I don't. It's just not really a change that I thought needed to be made. But I got one other thing, but I just we're already a little long on time, and I think we've hit up most of the most interesting things. Because I mean, Shaee, how long could we sit here and talk about this?
It could be a while.
Probably
It
till
could
next
be a
week's
while.
episode.
I do want to make one prediction. I just want to go on record.
Oh yeah.
When you get done with your last point.
No, I'm good. Yeah, go for it.
I think prediction. This is off the wall. I think they're going to turn the shepherd, who eventually leads the riot to the dragon pit. I think that's going to be Aegon.
Interesting.
In the book he's talked about as unrecognizable and he's got one eye and there's differences with Aegon, but they talked about in this episode Aegon being unrecognizable and nobody knows what he looks like now. And
I don't see
think
it, but it's a fair stab. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing they've done.
And I don't know. I just thought maybe that would be kind of a cool addition to Aegon's character if they do that. I wouldn't mind that change.
Interesting. Well, those of us that are into the spoiler sections, when it gets a little naughty, a little podcast has no name after dark, post spoilers. If you guys have any thoughts on Shae's theories here, or any of mine, or just any of the discussion, or even the episode itself, please leave us a comment. Get in there. We need to get out of here because I thought I was going to be in bed by now. I need to start getting better sleep at night. I running on like 4 hours of sleep today, but such is the life. Shaee, anything else you want to tell the people at home?
No, I'm looking forward to another episode next week.
Hell yeah, brother. Peace out, y'all.
Thank you for joining us. Please join us again next week.